good afternoon, Sheri.
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
Yes, you're here for Confidence Conversations, and I am so excited to get into all of it with you.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, Sheri is a longtime friend for me. We met actually at one of what I call a nerd camp, which is basically a summer preparatory program. And Sherry has gone
Mm.
on to do some really amazing things out of that program and just out of her life in general. So she's actually just graduating from medical school and is going to be a resident. So, Sherry, tell me what it was like the past 4 years working your way up to the point that you're at today.
Difficult.
Yeah.
If I could explain it in one word, I would say difficult. Just because, well, difficult and adaptable. Just because, like, before I even got to med school, that was a tribulation in itself because I didn't get into med school the first time around. Because like, like when you're younger or older, whenever you like plan out your life, you have this idea of, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it's gonna go exactly as planned. And that did not happen for me. Like that did not happen at all. So my plan was like I knew as a young kid that I wanted to become a physician like a long, long time ago, and I ordered my steps in the way that I wanted to, so I can basically become a physician. And everything was going fine. I finished school, a high school, elementary, etc. And then I went to college. I got into like undergraduate medical academy, and I was tutoring. I was lab assistant. I got into all these like nerd camps, as you call it. I got into those like almost every summer. So I thought, okay, like I'm gonna go straight into med school after I get my bachelor's, and that did not happen. And that was a huge blow for me, just because everything was going as planned until then. So it was just kind of like, okay, like what am I supposed to do? So after that, I was like, I don't care. I'm still gonna go for it. Like, because during my second to last semester of college, I started applying to med school, and I was getting denial after denial after denial after denial. And they were just like, "Oh, your resume is good, your GPA is good, but the MCAT, can you like retake it?" And I was like, I really don't want to retake the exam. Like, I really don't want to retake it. I had to retake it, of course, but I just really did not want to have to retake that exam because, like, all my friends were already like getting their acceptance letters. They were already like, I was like the only one
Yeah.
just sitting there, like,
Yeah, it's so amazing what you say. It's like sometimes you feel like the odd man out, and in the moment, right, you
right,
don't know what's going to happen. You just know what it is that you want. And so you do have
right.
to continue going. So, what did that process look like for you? Because I know no one wants to sit through that exam again, let alone studying for it. But it's something that you had to do to get to where you want to be. So, what really provided you with the discipline to be able to do that?
Myself, just mainly just knowing what I want to do and not giving up on it.
Yeah.
Because I was in this like weird transition where they were changing the MCAT. There's like an old MCAT, and there was a new MCAT, and the new MCAT was longer. So
Yeah, I missed out on
that
that.
was,
I'm very grateful.
I was like, man, not only do I have to retake it, but you're changing the exam too. So, I mean, I had to retake it. I took it. So for MCAT, like, I took 3 times. The
Hmm.
first time I took it, I first time I took it, I applied with that score, and then that's when I got the denial letters. The second time I took it was the last semester of college, and I got to the end, and I decided I'm gonna delete the test. So I don't know if they still.
If you guys aren't watching the YouTube video and you're listening to this on audio, I just like paused and my mouth was completely open because who does that?
Like I literally I studied, like I took a Princeton course that my school paid for, my mom got me a hotel like right by the testing center. I got there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it. And then when I got to the end, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna delete it. And then I deleted it.
So let's talk about that moment, right? Because I think it's probably like fear more than anything.
Right.
So what do you do after that space? Like let's talk a bit about how to overcome fear and really get to your destiny, because we all go through those moments, right, where we're just
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel like I'm getting the
Mm-hmm.
results that I want, even though I've put in the hours of preparation. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that you work through in your own mind and tell yourself when you are having feelings like that, or even in that moment when you knew, all right, that means I'm going to have to take it a third time? How do you keep going in those times?
Mm-hmm. So ever since I was a kid, not a lot of people know I've struggled with really bad testing anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'll just blank through exams. And during that, so basically all the way through elementary, junior high, and high school, I started to get rid of it, like just being like, okay, I'm gonna be fine. I put in the
Yeah.
work and etc. And in college, I was doing the same thing, but for whatever reason, when MCAT came, it's like it returned, like all the anxiousness, all the anxiety returned to MCAT, and I literally just got so anxious and overwhelmed and just pressed delete. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh crap, it's back. And that's like as the first thing I said it's back. And then I told my parents, and I was just like I can't, I'm gonna have to like learn how relearn how to not be so anxious all the time
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to testing. And so that took a while. Like I did not come over that hurdle until step I would say step 2 CK, which is the second board exams in your third year of medical school. So that was from like all the way from, I don't know, what was that, college 2015 to 2020. So it took me like a little bit over 5 years to get over that fear and anxiety. And basically how I got over it, I just got tired of it just controlling me to the part where I'm either deleting a test or I'm changing my answer, even though I know the answer that I had was correct, or just like saying, okay, well, I'm not gonna go. I may dual apply for match. Dual applying meaning like during the match cycle, you can choose which specialties. And some people will dual apply, like say for instance, internal medicine and family medicine, or internal medicine and general surgery. They'll do that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna dual apply. I'm gonna do this just because I was scared. Like I was so scared and anxious because I've worked for this all my life, the MCAT from each exam and everything, and it was just like so overwhelming. What it was, I wouldn't say killing me, but it was slowing my
Eating
momentum
away.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, mentally it was. I'll say that, like mentally and emotionally, I was just so drained.
Yes.
So I said, so like after like beginning in third year, and we had to take exams like all the time for each rotation. When I got to the end of third year, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not allowing this to control my life anymore. Like I do have test anxiety, but I'm not allowing it to control me or change my decisions. So from that on, I called my mom and my dad, and I was like, look, I'm applying for internal medicine solely. I'm not applying for
Yeah.
anything else. I'm going to uh, take this step 2 CK and take it. I'm not going to be moving my test around like I was for step 1. I moved that thing like a whole 6 months. Like it was too much. I just said, this is the date I'm taking it. This is what I'm applying to, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I prayed about it and I left it alone. Like I still do have test anxiety, but I just don't allow it to control me or change the way my directions. I mean, that's something that's
That's
probably
so,
always going to be there,
yeah.
but I just didn't care. I just got tired. I got tired of just being so emotionally and mentally drained from myself,
Yeah.
not from something else, not school. Like
It's the
school
things
is
that go on in our own minds
our
half the
head.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I just got tired of it. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
So Sheri, you raised such a good point about half the time the battle is in our own minds and in our own
Mm,
heads. And at some point, you just get sick of being your own worst enemy. I think that
mm,
that's so real because it's life comes at us every which way, and
mm,
that gives us cause for concern and stress, of course, but sometimes it's the stories that we replay in our mind, especially in a situation, right? Like when you're taking a test that's essentially going to determine your
mm,
future, right? And so we
mm,
hold so much weight on those moments that we're not able to perform. And for some people, it's not testing anxiety, it's performance
mm,
anxiety in like a sport or
mm,
presentation anxiety for work, and you just get so caught up in fear that you're not able to actually do your best, despite the fact that like you know the information on the test
right.
or you know what you're about to present, but you're thinking about like the outcomes and the what if, and your brain is so concentrated on I got to do well, I got to do well, I got to do
Mm-hmm.
well, that you're not able to do well.
Do well.
And so I love that you how you phrased it, and just like I got tired of letting that control me, because it's really that moment where you're
Mm,
able to cast that aside and say this actually is not helping me, this is hurting me.
mm,
Let me
mm.
just go with what I already know. Like in my mind I'm already an MD. In my
Right.
mind, like I like you said, you guided your steps up until this point, like you knew what
Mm,
path you were going to take, you knew where the end result was. So why am I
mm.
going to sit here and be afraid when I know that I know what's on this test?
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I was just because like my whole thing was like I wanted and like one of my dreams was to just do everything like HBCU. So I went to undergrad at HBCU and I wanted to go to a medical school at HBCU. And I applied to Meharry and Howard and Morehouse. And like I was like, I didn't necessarily bet because I retook the MCAT, but I took it in between that cycle where if you can take like it was a better score, but you would have to wait a whole another year after the gap year I had already taken. And I was just like, I'm not waiting. So I went to
Mm-hmm.
Ross. And then I was like, I mean, that everything has its pros and its cons, and I'm definitely at the same spot that I wanted to be anyway. I still got my top program and etc. But I think that I learned the hard way of not betting on yourself until like third year. I just did not care. I just did
Yeah.
not care.
Talk to
So
me
it was
more about betting on yourself. What that
the
means to you.
I think I think for me, I guess the best example would be through the match cycle. Because they were saying like, oh, so during medical school, you have your first 2 years of book work, and your third and fourth year, you're in the hospital doing rotations in each specialty. And in your third year, the year before you graduate, you have to prepare to apply to residency, which is the specialty of your choice, whether that's you want to be a surgeon or you go to be a general surgery or internal medicine, family medicine, peds, OB, whatever. So during my third year, they're like, okay, like I said before, like I did not bet on myself until step two CK. When I got to step one, I was still having really bad test anxiety, like moving my exam back and back and back and back and back, like constantly moving back, where I took like a whole 6 month period off of school, just the amount of times I was pushing it back. And of course they had some other tests you have to take before step two, before step one. But anyways, that's another story. But basically got to step one, I kept pushing it back. I didn't bet on myself, didn't get the score that I wanted. Got to step two, and before I got to step two, I had a conversation with my clinical advisor, and she was saying, okay, well, your step one is not really that great, but you can do better on step two CK. So we should really think that you should apply for family medicine and internal medicine instead of just internal medicine solely because your step one score isn't as competitive for internal medicine.
So basically, she was telling you not to go for what you wanted and to have a
Basically,
backup plan.
to have a back to plan B,
Yeah.
basically. And I said, okay,
Well,
I'm applying solely to internal medicine because I'm gonna do well on the step two CK and I'm gonna get my top choice. Period.
mm-hmm.
Like I didn't care. Like so that the chairman was saying like, yeah, you could do internal medicine, but just apply broadly. And it was like, And I don't think that they were saying it to be ill will. I
Of
don't think they
course.
were,
Yeah.
doing that. I just think that they wanted me to have like a plan B. And this entire, like my entire life, I never had a plan B. So I wasn't gonna start a plan B. I mean, my entire life, all the way up to medical school, I didn't have plan B because, Ross wasn't my first choice. Like I said, I wanted to go to HBCU medical school. So once I made my plan B, I wasn't going to go back to my plan B,
Right.
or having a plan B. So I said, you know what? I don't care. Like, I'm going to take this step to CK. I do not care. I'm applying solely internal medicine. And they're like, oh, you're not, people were telling me, like, not the school, but just people I was talking to, like, oh, you're not going to get these type of programs that you want because of your set one score. And I got those university
Yeah.
programs. I got those community university affiliate programs. I got the programs that I wanted. And people kept telling me, oh, you're not going to do this, or you're going to do this. I said, okay. Like,
Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
And I've always admired your attitude. But I think one of the biggest favors we can do for ourselves is know what we want in our mind, know
Mhm.
that we're already there, and just do what we have to do to get there, despite what the world is saying around us. Obviously,
Right.
you have to look at what people are saying and consider it.
Mhm.
Like let's
Mhm.
we do our research, we understand how things operate, but outside of that, you have to make your own decision for your
Right.
own life. Like, how am I going to operate? Am I going to operate in a place of fear, or am I going to do
Mhm.
this? Like,
Right.
and you did it. So how do you feel now, having moved through that process and being where people really didn't think that you could be, given what the numbers on the paper said, what your
Mhm.
test scores were?
Um, I'm just extremely proud of myself, as well as like extremely grateful. Because I mean, it wasn't just, to keep it a buck. It wasn't just other people. It was also me too. I didn't bet on
Yeah.
myself until the third year of medical school, where I just said, I don't care, I'm gonna do it. So I'm just proud of myself, growing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, especially spiritually, because I mean, I still was getting denial interviews for during the MAC cycle. I was like, okay, like I just didn't.
Yeah.
For me, like my faith and my, what they say, keep a faith as a mustard seed. That's all you need. That's all I had, because I was
Yeah.
still getting denials. I still was, but I got what I wanted.
Hmm. So
It was a different route, but
I want to hear about that growth. Tell me a bit about your spiritual growth and how you were able to grow mentally throughout the process.
Well, I think, well, I mean, but they don't know. But, when I was growing up, I grew in I went to a private Christian school, basically from first grade all the way up to 10th grade. And then I went to public school, 11th and 12th grade. And, we always had Bible class. We went to church almost every day. So that was my foundation, but I didn't have my own relationship
Right.
um with God until, I would say, around college and medical school. But when stuff start hitting the fan,
You're
and
like,
you
Jesus,
ain't
help.
just
Somebody, anybody,
somebody help me.
everybody.
Somebody help me. When stuff start hitting the fan and you have nothing else, like the way God, if you have distrust, or whatever you believe in, or whoever you believe in, if you have distrust, there's ways to be humbled, that God will humble you, or the world, or earth, or karma will humble you to a place where that's the only thing that you have to have faith in. And I was put in several scenarios until I got it, basically my third year. But I think what kept me grounded the most was my faith. Just because, I mean, I was literally still getting denial letters. My friends were getting, these, top programs, and I was still waiting on some instances, and then they just started coming in. Like, they just started coming in. But every time I got a denial letter, or every time I didn't do well in the test, or I didn't do anything that I thought I was gonna do, I literally just It's like, okay.
Yeah. And it's that letting go that you did again with your
Yeah,
MCAT too. Once you let go and you're okay with the outcome and you know
right.
that you don't have ultimate control, I think that's where the magic is able to happen, because
Right.
we as human beings can't create all of the circumstances in the universe
Mm-hmm.
that we want to happen. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be someone with a better score than you, with a
Mm-hmm.
better GPA, or like maybe they have a different program that's more prestigious that they went to for nerd camp or whatever. But there's always going to be something that sets us apart from other people, and in someone's subjective view makes someone else
Mm-hmm.
better. But so
Right.
when we surrender to that notion and know that that's okay because that's life,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to actually live without fear and without stress.
Right. Exactly. And I think that part is the hardest for people. I would say especially in medicine because it's very competitive. So it's very easy for you to compare yourself to the next person. Oh, they got a 95 on the test. You got a 70. You barely passed. But it's like it's like at the end of the day, say the things I always say all the time, your journey is your journey. The way that you learn, the way that you see things, the way that you had tribulations and some other people may not have tribulations, or they could have their own tribulations and they may not tell you. So I think it's just best for people to just don't compare yourself. As easy as it is, don't compare yourself to other people and just take pride in who you are in your journey. You may have to go an alternative route. I had to go to an
Right.
alternative route to get to where I wanted to get, but I got there. I
Yeah.
got there. That's the thing that people miss is you may be the only person on this route and all your friends go to all these great
The same route.
schools
Yeah.
and they go to, the places that you wanted to go to and you didn't get in, but we all still made it to the same place. Like literally, I had two interviews with friends that I who are at currently at about to graduate from UNC Medical School. We and had the same interview. So
Yeah.
it's just like you just have to let go. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part. But once you let go, it's just like,
Yeah.
okay.
And you're way more chill than I am. So I'm actually a little shocked to hear that you had problems letting go, because you know how type A I am. And I'm just like, I have a plan, I have a project plan, I have my little milestones laid out.
Right.
I like there's a schedule, and you think that life is supposed to go that way, right? You think that,
Mm-hmm.
I've taken these guided steps, I've done what I need to do, this is
Mm-hmm.
how things are going to look. And you're thrown into situations where they are so different, and sometimes, like you said, it only looks different for you. And so it's very easy in that space to get thrown off track, or think that you're doing something wrong, or to
Mm-hmm.
honestly
Mm-hmm.
think that you're not going to make it through or get to the end goal because my path doesn't look like theirs. But I think this is a really important place to say that it's not going to, it's not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to.
Those
Like,
two. Yeah.
your story and your journey is a part of the process. That's like what is building you into the person that you're
Exactly.
supposed to be.
Exactly.
So now, I have to ask, since you've gotten here, Miss Sheri, what does what does confidence mean to you?
That's a good question. I would say something that you have to work on daily.
Yeah.
Um, just because confidence for some people based off the circumstances that they have been through or the life situations they have had to learn that in their younger years. I feel like for me, kind of being in a somewhat sheltered environment in a private school, and there's like 5 or 6 people, 7 people in the classroom. I don't, I just, everything was just going so well. So I thought that I naturally thought I had confidence until stuff just start hitting the fan. You're like, and something didn't start hitting the fan until like high school, college for me. So it's like everything's been smooth sailing for 16, 17 years. Not to say that my life was perfect. I definitely have my tribulations in my own personal life, but as far as like stuff that I really, really wanted, like my career and things that like that, then start hitting the fan until high school, college. So I think that with confidence is being comfortable with yourself in regardless of your circumstance. And I think in order to meet that, my definition of confidence, you have to go through some crap.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, you have to go through
Go through
stuff.
some stuff and things.
Exactly, because you can easily be confident when everything's all red roses and rainbows, but are you confident when you ain't got no money in your bank account, or when you didn't do well in the test, or they're telling you that you can't do something and you really want to do it? Are you still confident then? So it's like I feel like confidence shows when you're going through a tribulation. It doesn't necessarily show your true confidence when everything is going well, because it's easy to be confident then. So I think I would think that. So I work on it daily.
Yeah. And that's the name of my site, right? Cultivating Confidence Daily, because it
Daily.
is such a journey. It's something that we have to do every single day. And even if you have, right, confidence in career, there could be relationships, or if it's not
Right.
relationships, it's kids, or if it's not kids, it's finances. Like there's something,
Mm-hmm.
there's always something where we can learn and grow. And I think just being mindful of that too is something that's so important for us to do, is like always asking ourselves why, and always asking ourselves, like, where can I improve and how can I grow? Because no
Mm-hmm.
area of life at one given time, even if things are going really well, nothing's ever perfect. So
Perfect.
looking
Right.
for opportunities to grow. How can I be better in this area? How can I prepare myself so that if something ever were to happen, I'd be able to handle it?
Right.
So tell
Exactly.
me 3 tips that you would give somebody to be more confident in their day-to-day life.
Mm. I would say, I guess the quote that I always say, two quotes. Your journey is your journey. The second one that has stuck with me since 2014 by Dr. Quincy Moore, which is my microbiology professor in college. Sometimes people have to take, some people get to take the stairs and some people take the escalators, but they still make it to the same destination. And then my third tip would be um, let go. I think the third that would be the last one would be let go, because I think a lot of people forget that you have these plans in your head, you have all these things, painted in your head in which you think you want to live your life, but everyone is placed ultimately where they're supposed to end up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as you're open to the trials and tribulations, that's going to teach you valuable lessons, even though you don't want to get hit with a couple bricks.
Yeah.
It's not fun at all, but it humbles you and it really teaches you how to persevere
Mm-hmm.
through anything. And through that perseverance and through those trials and tribulations, you will gain confidence. Because it's like, oh, I went through that. Well, I survived Hurricane Category 5 hurricane. I did this, which I did during medical school. Oh, I went through this. I went through that. I had to move around a couple places. And you want me to just do this? Oh, I can do that. But it's
Right.
just like
Yeah. And I think
you,
being able to draw on those experiences from your past, you're able to build yourself up in that way too. Just knowing that, like,
mhm,
sometimes in the moment, we're like, oh my God, I could never do that. And then you look back and you're like, I've overcome so much stuff to date.
mhm,
How could I not be able to conquer what's right ahead of me?
you're right. Exactly. Exactly. And I think a lot of people miss that from their trials and tribulations because they get stuck in the emotion and feelings of why me, or why is this happening to me and not someone else.
Yeah.
I think it's just a way that you approach things as well. Because of course, in the first, like my mom says all the time, get your 5 minutes of cry and then get over it. Because you cannot waddle in your situation. Everybody has hard situations, no matter what area they come from, where they come from, who they are. Everyone has situations that they come from, but there are also places that you can learn from.
Right.
So I think that not to waddle in your tribulations and your trials, but to learn from them.
Yeah.
Take your 5 minutes and cry, like my mama say, and get over it.
Yeah, I mean,
Good. Mhm.
ultimately your setbacks are set ups for future opportunities,
Mhm.
opportunities that are going to be right for you. And so like validate your emotions, right? Like go through that process, because if you don't, you're just going to experience them and manifest them in different ways. If you don't get the cry out, the little angry yell,
Right.
the punch on your pillow,
Mhm.
you know, if you don't punch your pillow, you might be punching somebody, and we don't need batteries and assaults on our
We don't need that
we don't need
at
that.
all.
But so validate your feelings, but
Mhm.
then look for the opportunity and for the lesson, because there's so much that you can learn from failure. I mean,
Mhm.
whether it's, you know, I've had failed relationships, I've failed
Mhm.
tests,
Mhm.
I've had so
Mhm.
many things that are perceived as failures, but it's like at some point you have to be grateful even
Right.
for those
Mhm.
things, because it's like that's where the good stuff is. That's where you
Right.
learn who you are. That's
Mhm.
how you learn what you're able to do and what you're able to overcome. And that's how you learn like about yourself.
Exactly.
What bothers me? What insecurities do I have? What
Mhm.
stories have I been playing in my head that have prevented me to this date from doing what I need to do?
Right.
That's where you learn, like when you have those setbacks, and then you set yourself up for success in the future.
Mhm. Exactly. And I know I talk a lot about med school, but like you said, it does apply to life a lot,
Yeah.
even with, relationships, whether that's boyfriend, girlfriend, or friendships. You know, people make, I've made mistakes in friendships, and some of those are big mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes that you don't do them again in a future relationship, or you learn from someone else's mistakes on what to look for. It's not all about, medical school and academics. You can apply the same things that we're talking about in different aspects of your life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also, like, let's just take a step back, you guys. Everyone makes mistakes. Don't suffer in silence. I feel like that's where
Mhm.
we get stuck too, is thinking that, like, you're the only person that's going through something. And so then you can't share it with other people. And it's that
Right.
sharing it and de identifying with that situation, like, yeah, this happened to me, but this isn't me. That is
Hmm.
so important. Like, I failed a test. I am not a failure.
Right.
That's what's
Hmm.
important to say, you know, that happened to me or for me,
Hmm.
but I am not
Right.
that thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Sheri, I've had such a good time talking to you. I know that people are going to be running to the hospitals to find you. Don't run to the hospital, guys. It's it's not safe. It's still
Please
COVID.
don't. Wear
I just
your
get really,
mask.
yeah, wear your mask, stay safe, get your vaccine. But Sheri, where can people find you for your daily inspiration and just to learn more about you and what you're doing?
Sure, you can find me on what I'm most active on is Instagram.
Hmm.
It's at Dr. DR and then underscore my name is Sheri. And then I also have YouTube, my name is Sheri, and then a internet website, www.mynameissheri.com. And the way I spell it is Sheri. And then my name, of course, is, yeah.
My name is
So.
Sheri, guys. Her name is Sheri, and she is here today.
Sherry, 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 Sherry. Don't forget.
That's right. Dr. Walls in the house. Well, thank you so much for joining Confidence Conversations. We've had a blast.
Me too.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.